Welcome, everyone. You've dialed into Making Sales Social Live, coming to you from the Social Sales Link virtual studios. And we are brought to you by AskSSL.ai. There's a QR code in your lower left hand corner if you're watching us live or on video and you want to dial in and figure out what's going on there. Bryn's already doing it. I love it. I'm Bob Woods. Bryn Tillman and Stan Robinson Jr. are here as well.
Hey,
How y'all doing today?
Yeah, great. How are you?
Doing well, doing well.
real
Very,
good.
very wet here, but doing
Wet
well.
here too.
Yes,
It's
and
wet,
cold.
wet and cold in so many places. It's April 7th if you're listening to us recorded, and if you remember back to then, you know that we've been inundated with rain, at least here in the
April
southeast.
showers.
April showers, yeah. April showers bring May floods.
May
So with that,
Yeah.
or actually April floods, it's flooding around here
April
right now.
floods, yeah.
So let's get to LinkedIn. And as you know, using LinkedIn to get those all important sales conversations started without being salesy is the topic of today's episode. We're going to be getting into the who to have conversations with and then the how to do it. And we have got a lot of stuff to cover today, so we're going to get right into it. I'm going to quickly list the three main areas that we're going into. So we're going to do it the military way. We're going to tell you what we're going to teach you. We're going to teach you, and then we're going to tell you what we taught you. So the three main areas are identify and engage with your existing connections. Number two, get introductions, referrals, and permission to name drop. And number three, be a resource to everyone, keeping in mind that old corporate vision statistic, which I'm sure is not only still true today, but it's probably even more so. And that's 74% of buyers choose the sales rep that was first to add value and insights. Be that salesperson. It's that simple. So, with that, let's dive into more details with our points, and that's identifying and engaging your existing connections. And it seems like this is a isn't it obvious moment, but there are more groups of people with whom you might want to have conversations than you might think, right, Brent?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I don't have my notes up, but let's start with, it's all about taking inventory, right? We have to start to identify who is it that we want to have conversations with. And chances are, if you're like most people on LinkedIn, oh, I don't know, maybe 80% of the connections that you have are people that you forgot that you wanted to have conversations with. And I just found the content here. So, who do we want to have conversations with as we're looking through both our existing connections and even folks that we should be connected to? So, we have current clients, right? So, these are clients that we are currently working with. And that doesn't necessarily mean I have one buyer inside of an organization. Everyone that I'm engaging with inside of that client, we should be connecting with. Prospects, clearly, if we're reaching out and we're having conversations, connecting with them on LinkedIn is really important to just stay in front of them. Community leaders, this is huge. So few people connect with the directors of their chambers of commerce or anyone that runs maybe an association. When you're connecting with those folks and you're staying top of mind, those are people that you want to have conversations with often. Past clients, slightly different than our current clients, and we want different conversations with different folks. So like current clients, we probably want referrals. Past clients, we may want conversations around doing business with them again, potentially. Networkers and centers of influence, people that could be great referral partners, we want to have conversations with them. If you're in a larger company, coworkers, really important to keep conversations going. Often the best opportunities can come from coworkers. If you are in a sales role, your coworkers have networks of folks that you may actually want to sell into. We want to have conversations with them about their networks. And of course, industry leaders and influencers. And when we talk a little bit more about the different campaigns, we'll talk about how to leverage those folks.
Yep, very cool. One thing that comes to mind about coworkers is because it's easy to overlook the fact that there may be people on your team who are connected with people of interest to you. Not necessarily, not only, so to speak, in the sales department, but they could be in any area of your organization. So one of the wonderful things about LinkedIn is you can search your connections. So for example, I could go look at who Bob is connected to and ask Bob for introductions, and you could do the same within your organization.
Yeah,
Excellent.
absolutely. And that gets us into number 2, which is getting those introductions, referrals, and permission to name drop by mining your connections to gain access to your targeted buyers, which is what Stan just said. So you do that by going through several different areas. Stan, do you want to take those? And I was actually going to handle number 3. So if you want to do number 2,
Well,
go ahead there. Or I mean, the main
yeah,
number.
well, here's what I'll talk briefly just about exporting your connections, and then we'll kind of go from there. So one of the beauties of LinkedIn is that you can export your connections into a CSV file. So if you just go to your settings in your LinkedIn profile and then look up data privacy, and you'll have 2 options in terms of how to export them. And you get the data relatively quickly, within a couple hours, if that. And then since it comes to you as a CSV, you can sort the data however you choose to. And of course, you can do that in combination with just LinkedIn. You can use first degree connections as a filter, and any other filters that are relevant as far as your target audience. Any thoughts beyond that, Bob or Bryn?
Well, I love the taking inventory, and absolutely exporting is a great way to do that. You can also search your connections even in the free LinkedIn, although Sales Navigator has incredible filters that can really help to drive you down to the exact folks that you're looking to meet. And I think, when we're looking, it's, I went through that very long list of people we want to have conversations with, but, there are different conversations that we want to have. Some of them are around helping them solve a challenge. Some of them are from client referral opportunities. Some of them are around maybe opportunities to interview them or to leverage content. I mean, there's so many different conversations that we want to have. So by taking inventory, whether it's a search or that Excel spreadsheet, we do want to put them in specific categories, right? Like, where are they landing in order for us to want to have those, what conversations do we want to have with each of them? So I think that's really powerful when we're talking about the who. Yeah. And then Bob, was there another who before we went to how?
No, actually, we do have both of the who's there. I would like to get in really quick into just getting those introductions, referrals, and permission to name drop. So I mean, the how is really simple in terms of just using the free LinkedIn, and I mean using the free LinkedIn is a good way to do it. Sales Navigator is an incredible way to do it, but even if you have the free LinkedIn, it works well. It's just Sales Navigator. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. So what you do, just you click on the search bar within free LinkedIn, choose people and all filters, type in the name of your connection. So this is searching someone else's connection. So your first degree connection, you want to search their connection. You type in the name of your connection, that person, let's say it's Bryn, in connections of, And then there are a whole bunch of other filters there that you can use. One of the big ones I would probably do is title, because I know the titles of people who I like to search for. You click apply, you build that list, and then you run the names. I would run the names by Bryn at that point and either get a direct referral, an introduction, or something that we really like to do around here, and that's permission to name drop. So name dropping Bryn, well, I mean, everyone knows Bryn. And when you name drop Bryn, yes, don't give me that look. When you name when you name drop a person, they will go, "Oh yeah, I know this person. I really like them. You know, let's do this short call," or whatever it is that you're trying to get accomplished with them. And Brenna, I know that this is a really big one that you like as well.
I love this. The one thing I'll say is, I mean, Bob can drop my name anytime. Stan can drop my name anytime. But most people make sure that you are getting permission to drop their name. Run the names by them. Make sure that they know them, that it makes sense. So permission to name drop is a big deal. But this is really life changing when it comes to, or sales changing when it comes to starting trust-based conversations without being salesy, because it's really around that warm market, which is so important.
Yeah, and warm market is your second degree connections. It's actually the first degree connections of your first degree connection, just because I like to over explain everything that I do in life. So with that,
wait, you know what? If we're over explaining, can I over explain one thing?
Yeah, over explain away.
Yes.
Okay. So what we're talking about is social proximity. And there are 4 quadrants to social proximity when it comes to LinkedIn. So it's the combination of influence, and I've just blocked. So it's how influence and connections, right? So the influence is, are they the decision maker? And the connection is, are they a first or a second degree? So so the top right quadrant is, they are the decision maker and they are a first degree connection, right? When you come down to the bottom right quadrant, that is, they are a first degree connection and they are connected to an influencer, right? So your second degree is that influencer, your first degree knows them. The next one is, they are high on the influence scale, but they're coming in as a second degree from someone outside of the company, somewhere, right, where they could maybe make that introduction. And then at the bottom is low influence, low connection, is really a second degree into a company you're prospecting into, but not the decision maker.
Sure.
So that what we're talking about, like that social proximity, high influence first degree or high influence second degree, that's your warm market.
Yeah, okay. and that's not over explaining. That's just explaining, I think, especially because that's something we really don't talk a lot about. So definitely glad that it is out there. Stan, did you want to add something to that?
Just that's a great tip for just how to prioritize people, especially as your network starts to grow. It's okay, how do I get my hands around who to start with? So what Bryn just described is a great way to start prioritizing. We go first degree decision makers and then work my way around.
Prioritizing is definitely very important. I actually used to have a system back when I was just in-person prospecting like crazy. I had like an A, B, C, and D category, and the A's got the most attention, B's a little less, C's, and then D's. And quite frankly, I don't even remember how I used to do it. I just remember that I had a system there. But systematizing, I think, is definitely key, which is Bryn, we should talk about that more often.
I just said, I'm in my head, not out loud. Just in my head, I'm like, oh, we should be talking about this. Let's put this, whatever our next podcast, MSSL, that's open. Let's add that in.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. So with that, let's make that final move into being a resource. So you're thinking, okay, that means I got to share content. I got to share lots of content, right? You do have to share content, but engaging on other people's content is not only just as important, it's actually more important. We engage on their content with a 10-to-1 ratio. So you should be doing 10 comments and content in the same sentence is kind of difficult. You should comment on their content every 10 times for per one piece of content that you share.
Stan, you want to talk about why on that? The purpose of all that?
Yep. Couple of reasons. We'll start with the algorithm in this case. Number one, when you comment on someone else's content and you add value, that we'll just say it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Make sure that when you do comment, it's not promotional, that it actually adds value to the discussion. And when you do that, it sends a signal to LinkedIn's algorithm that this is a conversation that's of interest to people. So it will help the person who posted it, because LinkedIn's algorithm will show the conversation to more people and in both your network. So it helps them. It helps you gain more visibility with the poster. And it's a good idea to tag them, by the way, just to make doubly sure that they see you, even though they get a notification anyway. So it helps them, it helps you, and it sends a signal to the algorithm as one way to look at it. And then, anyone want to talk about engaging with the other people that are commenting, because that's also part of it?
I'm going to finish that, and then I'm going to head back to you to handle that. The other thing about the algorithm that Richard van der Bloem mentions, which I think this is absolutely crazy amazing, is LinkedIn, I believe, is the only social platform where we can kind of control who sees our stuff. When you first connect with someone for the first 2 weeks, they see your content. If they engage, that 2 weeks is renewed. Similarly, if you engage on their content for the next 2 weeks, they'll see yours. So we have a little control. Now, if they don't engage after that 2 weeks, you lose that opportunity, and you have to proactively get it in front of them to start that 2 weeks over again. But that piece of the algorithm, when I learned that from Richard, I was blown away that we have some control. So that 10-to-1 ratio is not just about us engaging. It's also about that's how many more people will see our stuff. So Stan, I'm going to throw it back to you to finish the thought around engaging with commenters.
Yes. So if the post is active and there are multiple people commenting on it, you can quickly scan who's commenting, which is a beautiful thing when you think about it. And just by looking at their headline, a lot of times you can tell whether it's someone that's of interest to you. So you can reinforce their comment and start a conversation that way, which you can take later to an invitation to them to connect as well.
So I love that. One of the things I do, so let's just say the content that was shared was Anita Nielsen's. And so I'm engaging with Anita, and I'm engaging with the commenters for Anita. And so we've got this great conversation going. How do I convert that into a connection? Well, I'm going to go to listennotes.com, and I'm going to find a podcast Anita was on. And now I'm going to say, Stan, really looks like we're both big fans of Anita and everything that she has to share. I don't know if you heard her on the podcast XYZ. If you're interested, let's connect. I'm happy to send you a link. It was a really great episode. And so now we're still connecting, right? That conversation is continuing off of public LinkedIn into the messaging. Now we're connected, and that we can continue those conversations. And that is really a powerful way to leverage other people's content and other people's comments to expand your network. So you really want to find those influencers that are attracting the people you want conversations with. Yep. Bob, I'm throwing it back to you. Bob, back to you.
Yeah. So I actually do kind of feel like I'm a sportscaster right now too. So yeah, with that, let's let's actually get so first of all, before we move on to the actual content, be sure that if you're in Sales Navigator, that you're saving the people who you really want to keep track of. You can also ring in the free LinkedIn. You can go to someone's profile and do what's called ring their bell. So there's a little bell icon that you need to follow them first. And then once you follow them, that bell will appear. You can click on that, and there are a couple of options there in terms of how often you will be notified. One of the nice things about ringing the bell is whenever that person whose bell you've rung shares a piece of content and you've got that setting in there correctly, you will be notified via notification. So you don't need to go and hunt around in your feed to find these people, because you will the LinkedIn will bring them to you automatically, which is absolutely terrific stuff.
Yeah, that feed is a black hole of yeah. Don't so what Bob is saying, really take to heart. Really look at who is it that we want to follow and we want to engage with, because that news feed in the free LinkedIn, first of all, I don't know about you, but every fifth thing is an ad. Every third thing is an ad, right?
Yep.
So that becomes a lot of noise and a lot of wasted time. However, Stan, if you could, and I know we're kind of, well, all of this goes into conversations, right? Talk a little bit about, though, the power of Sales Navigator's newsfeed.
The wonderful thing about Sales Nav's newsfeed is it keeps you very, very focused. So just like Bryn said, with free LinkedIn, you're seeing ads, you're seeing extraneous content, and you're continually scrolling to try to find something. With Sales Navigator, the homepage content is purely driven by the leads and accounts that you've saved. So the only content that's going to appear on the homepage will be of interest to you because you've identified the sources of that content and you won't see any ads.
Yeah, I love that.
Yep.
Awesome. All right.
Yep.
Where
All right.
are we?
Where are we? That's
are we?
always and forever the question. We are now talking about now we're going to get into the content that we share. So what we need to share is when we're sharing our own content, especially, is original social selling content, which means it needs to bring value. It shouldn't be salesy. It shouldn't be a pitch, all of that type of stuff. It also has 5 specific areas that we need for it to hit. Bryn, since you're the one who came up with this bulleted list, I would like you to take it because it is brilliant and it's something that we practice here at Social Sales Link and we teach all of our people.
So I appreciate that, and I'll start by saying not all content has to do what I'm about to talk about, but content that converts does. So there's tons of content you could put out, recaps of events and pictures that you took when you were out, with at a networking opportunity. You can share promotions, you could, all those things. But if we're looking for content to start trust-based conversations, our original content needs to hit 5 points. So the first point is it needs to resonate with your buyer. There is so much content out there in the world that noise is loud. And for you to break through that noise when they're scrolling, whether it is on their news feed or in their notifications or wherever that might be, that very first line needs to do 2 things. The first thing it does is it needs to resonate with them. So if you work with CEOs of manufacturing companies, you want that to be in your first line. The other piece in that first line is number 2, which is create curiosity. These two go together. So 5 mistakes CEOs of manufacturers make when applying for a line of credit at a bank. I just had this come up with a client, so that's what's top of mind, right? So 5 mistakes. So the curiosity is, if I'm a CEO of manufacturing, what mistake did I make when I applied for that line of credit? Right? Because now this banker has better solutions. That's the goal. They want to lead to their solution, not with it. So the third thing, so we start with resonate, create curiosity. The third thing it needs to do is it needs to teach them something new that they didn't know before. So those mistakes are new things, right? So what are the new things? Number one, early payoff. If you are dinged for early payoff, that's a bad loan, that's a bad line. If you are like, here are the things, and I don't remember all of them, but here are the things that as a manufacturing company that's taking out that line of credit, like these are mistakes. And in one of those 5 mistakes, they're going to say, oh, I'm making that mistake. So now that's kind of number 4, which is what we just taught them, needs to get them thinking differently about their current situation. So I just learned this, and if that resonates with me, how am I going, boy, I'm not doing that, or I should be doing that, or I should think about this differently, or in this case, my banker didn't tell me this, right? So now we've hit those 4 points. We resonate with them, we created curiosity, we taught them something new that got them thinking differently about their current situation. And then, all else being equal, we need to make sure that we're starting the conversation. That's what this whole point is, right? How do we start the conversation? We need to move them from lurker to engager, from I can't ever remember what
spectator to engager.
To engager.
Yeah.
I got lurker stuck in my head.
Bystander. Yeah.
Bystander to engager. We've got to pull them out of the woodwork. We can't start a conversation with someone until we know they're there. So we need that comment, that like, that engagement, that connection request, that profile view. So the 5th piece is create a compelling moment. So I'm just going to recap. Number 1, resonate based on their title industry. Create curiosity so they want to keep reading. Teach them something new that they didn't know before that gets them thinking differently about their current situation. That's how we lead to our solution. And ultimately, number 5, creating a compelling moment so we know that they're there and we can actually start that conversation.
Excellent stuff. And one way to create that content that resonates, creates curiosity, teaches something new, everything else, is through some of the campaigns that we have designed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we're only going to list them very briefly because we're really coming up.
Are tight on time.
Yeah, I know. So, but then if you want more information, we want to invite you to our Be Our Guest to coaching sessions, which are once a month. You can find that at socialsaleslink.com/events. If you're like, oh, that one sounds interesting, I wonder what's involved in that, come to one of our Be Our Guest sessions. We've got the next 3 months up there right now. Register for free. Come and ask, and we'll tell you exactly what it is involved behind.
What is that URL, Bob?
socialsaleslink.com/events, events, plural with an S, events. And it's at the top there. So you can, you can prospect by poll, use a poll to start sales conversations, interview. So you can actually interview people who are in the exact roles who you need to have conversations with, and then actually do a blog post based on that as well. You can't just interview people and then not do anything with them. You have to publish a blog post based on that. Prospect by job change. I guarantee you very, very few people are hired by a company to keep the status quo within that company.
Point.
They want change. Be a part of that change. You do that by prospecting when people change jobs. Influencer, we've talked a lot about that. I'm just going to kind of leave that alone. Events, prospect by event. There is a lot of things involved potentially with that. There's a couple of different lanes that you can get in with that as well, and so many more as well. So
we just did that.
We just did that.
Prospect by event. Come to socialsaleslink.com/event.
Yes, exactly. That's a great example
Yep,
of that.
so it's
And
that
we have
simple.
many more as well. So before we wrap things up, anything extra there going on there with you guys when it comes
Oh,
to
everything's a little bit extra, Bob.
yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Tell me. So I tell you what, we're going to bring this home by saying by identifying and engaging with your existing connections, then getting those introductions, referrals, permission to name drop, and then being a resource through your content and your comments, you too can leverage LinkedIn for sales and other types of conversations without being salesy. With that, thanks for joining us for this episode of Making Social Sales Live, sponsored by Ask SSL.
No, say that again.
Not-
That's not it.
What's not it?
Making Sales Social.
You. That's the name of our podcast. What's the name of it?
Making Sales Social Live.
Yes, that's correct.
Didn't I not say that? I could have sworn.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
it was
what did I
Making
say?
Social Sales.
Hopefully it wasn't another podcast. So,
You just wanted to see if we were listening, Bob.
I was paying attention this time.
you were. If you're with us live on LinkedIn and YouTube right now, we do this every week. If you're listening to us on our podcast, go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button if you haven't done so already. We do 2 shows weekly. We do this one and our Making Sales Social interview series, where we have talked with and will continue to talk with people who are leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, and many more areas. So when you are out and about this week, every week, be sure you're making your sales
social.
Excellent work on that one, people. Very good. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bob.
Bye now.